Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Sunday, July 6th. We will continue to see warmer and drier conditions through this week across the Great Basin, with the exception of only a few isolated thunderstorms at times in the higher terrain. We do have an area of low pressure off the west coast, and this weak trough will move across the region through midweek. So we will see winds increase a bit on Monday, but more so on Tuesday over southern and eastern Nevada, with possibly Wednesday being the strongest wind day. So we will see a return of some gusty winds accompanied with very dry conditions in parts of central areas of the basin. Over the last 24 hours, of very little showers and thunderstorms across the region, just a few isolated storms over towards western Wyoming and far eastern Idaho. Over the last 24 hours, we had a reported 33 new fires across the Great Basin for over 144 acres, with over 13,000 acres of growth on our large fires, specifically in northwest Nevada. But you can see over the holiday weekend, we've had a smattering of smaller fires emerge across most areas of the Great Basin. Over the last 7 to 14 days, we have had moisture move across both the north and the south, giving us some above normal precipitation in parts of Idaho and also in far southern Nevada. Otherwise, very dry conditions continue across much of the rest of Nevada and Utah into far southeast Idaho and western Wyoming. You can see from our ERC percentile point map that ERCs are still above the 90th percentile in much of these central areas that have seen drier conditions, but certainly have come down from the values we were seeing last week. And we have seen the ERCs drop more significantly in the north, where we saw more of that widespread moisture, and even in the far south, where we saw that moisture as well. But we will see ERCs on the rise over the next 7 to 10 days with drier conditions. Looking at some of our 100-hour fuel moisture, an area where winds will be picking up as we go through the week. And you can see over in eastern Nevada, 100-hour fuel moisture did increase a little bit more significantly, but will very quickly be dropping to well below normal levels and in that 5th percentile level. Similar conditions for northwest and western Nevada, where winds will also pick up on Tuesday, Wednesday. 100-hour fuel moistures will continue on the decline. Looking at our satellite loop from this morning, you can see generally clear skies across the region with no real smoky conditions. And looking at the smoke forecast, most of our impacts really will be in California, but we could see some smoke drift over into the western side of the Great Basin, but should be fairly thin and shouldn't cause too many problems. As we move into later today, you can see that area of low pressure off the west coast, which will be pretty far away from the area, so winds should be generally light across most areas with no high risk. You can see our significant fire potential remains low to moderate across the southern 2/3 of the Great Basin, and still generally very low in central Idaho with that recent moisture. Again, looking at winds today, should be fairly light. I could see a couple cells pop up in parts of Nevada or northeast Utah, even if they don't produce lightning, could produce some very brief gusty outflow winds with these dry conditions. Otherwise, relative humidity in the low single digits across much of Nevada and Utah, and up in the teens further north. Temperatures today will be near seasonal averages, and precipitation, again, aside from those few isolated storms in some of the higher terrain, really no concerns today. Otherwise, on Monday, we have that area of low pressure that drifts a little bit closer to the west coast, so we will see winds pick up a bit over the southern half of the Great Basin, but still well shy of any critical values. Otherwise, significant fire potential will continue to gradually increase with low to moderate in all areas. You can see those winds on Monday picking up over southern Nevada, the Arizona Strip, and far southwest Utah. Most of these gusts in the green and orange generally below 30 miles per hour, but it will be a little bit breezier with those south winds. Otherwise, relative humidity remains in those low single digits, and we will see them come down a bit more in Idaho. Temperatures will tick up a few degrees on Monday, still remaining near or just above seasonal averages. And you can see, we could see again a few isolated storms across parts of Nevada into Utah, but any lightning should be very minimal, but could see some brief gusty outflow winds. On Tuesday, the area of low pressure moves closer to the California coast, so we'll see winds increase a bit more over parts of southern and eastern Nevada. We don't have any high risk yet. We'll continue to monitor this. Right now, winds may be right around 30 miles per hour in parts of these areas. Again, our significant fire risk is still moderate. And you can see those winds on Tuesday picking up a bit, possibly along the Sierra Front, as well as parts of south central and eastern Nevada. Again, around 30 miles per hour, maybe a bit above, but it'll be something we'll be watching here over the next day or so. Otherwise, relative humidity continues to drop into the single digits and really teens in all areas. We'll even see some of those single digits in southern Idaho. Temperatures continue to increase, especially in the north. Will be over 100 degrees for parts of the Boise area. Precipitation, again, minimal, just a few isolated storms potentially, but nothing significant at this time. 3-day precipitation, any of those showers or thunderstorms could see a few brief light showers in the far north, but again, not expecting any wetting rains and mostly dry conditions. For the Wednesday through Saturday time period, on Wednesday, that trough off the west coast does move into the Great Basin, so this may be our breeziest day over parts of southern and central areas of the Great Basin. So we'll be watching some of those areas for high risk, especially with the very low relative humidity and the recent fires that we continue to see pop up over the holiday weekend. We could see the potential for some holdovers in some of these areas, or at least some fires to maybe pick up and become a little bit more active. As we move into the Thursday, Friday time period, that low tracks further east, so we will see winds decrease a bit, maybe still remain breezy, but we'll see temperatures really start to heat up as we get towards the weekend, and the ridge to the south really starts to dominate the Great Basin. The only real potential for showers and thunderstorms towards midweek, maybe in the far north where we could see some isolated coverage. And then again, as we get towards the weekend, parts of northern Nevada, across the northern stretches of Utah could see some isolated cells develop. But right now, we're not looking for any significant moisture to move across the Great Basin with really just hot and dry conditions and occasional wind at times. Looking at our 7-day significant fire potential forecast, really very little change in the Wednesday through Saturday time period, just fire potential becoming a little bit more critical each day with a lot more moderate risk of large fire. And we'll again continue to watch, especially that Wednesday time period for the potential of any high risk. 7-day total precipitation, not much different than the 3-day, no real moisture expected. And the 8 to 14-day outlook, taking us from July 13th through the 19th, shows continued warm and dry conditions with really any hints of moisture associated with the monsoon to our south. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.